There was a town hall done yesterday by CNN, and presidential candidate Marianne Williamson had participated in one of two town halls that they had yesterday. Now, she was presented with a question about reparations, and we know that that is a very, very important political thing for African Americans, American descendants of slavery. Just want to make sure we put that out there, that it is on the table for us. It's a very serious matter. And if we don't get what we want, we are talking about holding our vote. And that is our ace in the hole, due to the Democrats needing 80% of the black vote to win any kind of election. Understand something, black folks, you are the swing vote in every election. Every other group, their votes are split. They don't vote in a block like African Americans. So that's what make our votes very, very precious to the Democratic Party. So Marianne Williamson has came out originally stating that she believes reparations should be paid to heal the wrongs that was done to African Americans. But I want you to hear how she responds to this question.
Signature campaign promises is reparations for Africans and African Americans. So in order to implement this plan, we would have to reallocate that money from somewhere else. So where do you think we can allocate this money from?
Well, first of all, it's not a zero-sum game. So, when people want to do things like tax cuts for the very, very wealthiest, or invasions, invasions of countries that didn't even do anything to us, nobody asks where they're going to reallocate the money from. The issue of reparations is an issue that speaks to what I was saying before. We need to get real in this country. We need to talk about what's really going on in this country. I don't believe that the average American is a racist. I actually don't. But I do believe that the average American is vastly undereducated about the history of race in the United States. And at the end of the Civil War, there were 4 to 5 million slaves in the United States. And General Tecumseh Sherman promised at that time 40 acres and a mule for every former slave family. That money, well, most of the time that acreage was not given. Even when it was given, most of the time it was taken away. The economic gap, and remember that 2.5 centuries of slavery was followed by 100 years of what today we would call domestic terrorism. What do you call lynchings if not domestic terrorism? What do you call Ku Klux Klan if not domestic terrorism? Full-on institutionalized white supremacy and segregation. Even though we answered that with the Civil Rights Act that dismantled segregation, the Voting Rights Act that gave equal rights of voting to black people, even that we started chipping away at since 2013. We have mass incarceration. We have racial disparity in sentencing. This is not a debt we can afford to delay any longer. The economic restitution for 2.5 centuries of slavery, followed by 100 years of domestic terrorism. Germany has paid $89 billion to Jewish organizations since World War II. And in 1988, Ronald Reagan signed the American Civil Liberties Act, where all surviving prisoners from the Japanese internment camps during World War II were paid between $20,000 and $22,000. It's simply a debt we owe. This country will not heal until we take a serious moral inventory. A nation must undergo the same level of deep moral inventory, admission of our character defects. Racism is a character defect. Let's end this. Let's fix this. Let's solve this. Reparations won't end everything, but it will be a profound gift. It implies a mea culpa. It implies a recognition of a debt owed, and therefore it carries not only economic power, but spiritual force. Whatever it costs, it's time to do this.
Before I address anything that Marianne Williamson was speaking about, let's get to brother first. Now, I saw the name, and he's one of our African brothers that is here going to Howard University. We know, and I've stated many times before, this is a African diaspora channel, and we cover all things all over the globe that relate to the diaspora. But we have to have a short conversation on what brother said. He said African and African American in relation to reparations. Now, what I will say to that brother is no, sir. I will say no, sir, because unless your ancestors have been traced back to the plantation fields of America, then hey, the American government owes you a reparation. But if you just coming into the country and you don't have any kind of ancestors that tie back to the plantation fields of America, then you are stuck out on that. I don't understand why some, not all, some people don't get that this is something that is owed to the slave descendants that's in this country, has been in this country for hundreds of years. You can't really just come in and just say, oh, I want to get reparations. That's not how that works. Now, slavery was all over the world. Many countries was involved in that, like France was involved in some things. You had definitely Britain, Portugal, Spain, many others. They owe different countries reparations. Yes, they do. But it would be like us going to Haiti and France going to pay a reparation. If we go in, we don't get that reparation because we aren't the descendants of any kind of Haitian slavery. So why is it that you have some that's trying to come in and getting upset with Black Americans that point that out? I mean, it's just a reality. The American government doesn't owe anything to anyone that isn't a descendant. It's not one of those things that, oh, you Black, so you get it. That's not the way it works. That's not the way it's even worded. And the American government should not pay a dime to anyone that doesn't have lineage back to the plantation fields of America. Some people say, oh, that's divisive. What's so divisive about it? Why is it so divisive with this issue? It's nothing divisive at all. It's all about lineage. It's all about what's owed to us. Okay. Now let's get to Marianne Williamson. Many people keep speaking about reparations. And from my opinion, she's the only one that's been extremely consistent on that message. She haven't changed it at all. Everyone else is getting on board with it now, here and there. But even though they're on board with it here and there, they don't really believe it should be any kind of cash payments at all. Now, remember, Bernie Sanders many times said no. He don't believe in cash payments to reparations. You have Elizabeth Warren. She said, yeah, reparations, but she want Native Americans to get reparations. You have, Julian Castro. He believed reparations should be paid, but he didn't really explain a little bit how he wanted to do that. He just mentioned it. Kamala Harris, she already said that she's not going to do nothing specifically for Black people. She said it emphatically no to that, just to name a few people. So when we talk about our vote, and our vote is very, very important. And yes, we have to be about the business of what we want. We are past the time that we're voting based on someone's color. We're past the time we're voting on who we like. We're voting based on a business transaction. If they give us what we want, we give them the vote. It's just that simple. Don't allow anyone to pressure you. Don't allow anyone to shame you. Don't allow anyone to fearmonger you about Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not even the issue right now. The issue is if we don't obtain reparations, they have stated that in the next 20 to 30 years, our net worth will be zero. Reparations is the only thing that can solve that issue and that problem for African Americans. Understand something, especially with automation coming, and that's coming for sure. All these manufacturing jobs are gone. I posted a post on Instagram and Twitter to show why the manufacturing jobs will never come back to this country. I don't care what Donald Trump says, it'll never come back to this country. He don't even make his products in this country. Go figure. But his, group don't say nothing to him about that. But that's their situation with him. Retail jobs are about to go because they had forecast that about 75,000 stores are going to be closing in the next few years. So retail jobs are going to be gone because of sites like Amazon that makes it very easy for us just to shop online and get it right at our door. So that's going to be more people without work. So reparations would be great for us because not only it closes the wealth gap, but it would help us with capital and business creation because see, we get into a point in our community that we have to do for self or we're not going to have anything. The days of depending on the American government to provide you this and provide you that is going away. That's why I tell people certain things that people depend on should not be something that you would say, oh, well, it's always going to be there because no. Now with Marianne Williamson, I also heard in the same town hall she believes in a Medicare for all, which is something that I believe in 100%, because if you don't have a healthy society, you don't have a functioning society. And unfortunately, big pharma and the healthcare industry, they make a lot of money off of sick people. And we don't need people sick. If people can just go to the doctor and have preventative health care, it will prevent people from getting sick. If we could change all the chemicals and carcinogens they put in foods, that would change people from getting sick. She's the only one I heard say that about getting rid of the carcinogens they're putting in foods. They're putting so many chemicals in our food, and you wonder why people are getting cancer all the time. You wonder why. You put high fructose corn syrup in the food, which is the worst thing ever, and you wonder why people keep getting diabetes with the high fructose corn syrup. You get what I'm saying? And that's concerning. So it's not only reparations, but a few things that I like that she is saying. Now, what I will say, I'm not telling you how to vote, but I'm saying based on the conversation about ADOS, Marianne Williamson so far is the only one that's actually being a little bit more forthcoming with reparations. She don't care. She's not batting her eye, and she's not biting her tongue about it. Many people have been tweeting about, this clip and saying, oh, listen what she's saying. And many people say, ADOS, what you think about it? Well, you do need to think about it. You do need to really seriously search yourself. Some people, not trusting, they say, well, I don't know, she going to do this or that and the third. Well, it's like this. Barack Obama didn't do nothing, and we ran and gave him a vote. He didn't promise nothing to black people, and we ran to give him a vote. And he benefited everybody else but black Americans. Everybody got a piece of the pie of Barack Obama. So if we ran to give him a vote with no promise at all, then we're more politically astute now. We definitely focus on what we want. Then so far, from what I'm hearing, she's about the only one that's going to give ADOS what they're asking for so far. And I promise you, if more black Americans would start looking more at this candidate and talking more about her, watch the rest of them going to start want to really promise cash payments. I see that coming, because they know that if you do not vote for them, if black Americans say, fine, you don't want to give us nothing, cool, no problem. We're not voting for nobody. We're not voting for Trump either. We just not voting for none of y'all. They know good and well that is fatal for black Americans to say we're not voting for nobody, because they know if you don't vote, they know exactly who's going to win. They sick and tired of Trump. Trust me, they are. I mean, Trump by the day was getting worse and worse. Sometimes I laugh at Trump, and some things he do and say I think is comical, but then some things I say, okay, he's getting real concerning now. I mean, he takes being petty too far. Now, a private citizen being petty is one thing, but you being a president and you being petty, and you talking about dropping illegal immigrants in sanctuary cities when you were complaining when they was in the country, now you're going to go drop them off in different places or whatever. And I'm like, dude, like, what is wrong with you? You get what I'm saying? There's so many things that this guy is doing that's a bit much. And I'm saying, man, he's crazy. This guy crazy as hell. And then he always stoking the flames with his white nationalist base. He's always flaming them up. He believes in propaganda. He don't want nobody to challenge him or anything. I mean, it's just too much. And I look at the chaos with Donald Trump, and I look at that and I say, boy, if Barack Obama was in office, they wouldn't even let him get away with not even 2 seconds of what Trump is doing. But with Trump in office, it proves a lot. It exposed a lot of people and who they really were. And it also exposed white privilege, because in this country, a white man can do whatever the hell he wants. And Donald Trump proves that every day. He proves it every single day. It's nothing he can do that they won't come down on him about. Even the Democrats don't mess with him. They act like they're scared of him. You know what I'm saying? So it's good. And the world see this. The world look at us as a joke. They don't look at us. Like I said, we didn't go out and vote for that man like that. But they look at all those who voted for him as a joke. And they say, what's wrong with this country? And we could just sit back and say, well, that's what y'all picked. So deal with it. But when it comes to us and our situation, Either we get what we want or we just don't vote. We just that simple. So far, Marianne Williamson is saying what we want to hear, but we want to know exactly how she's going to do it. I know she talks about certain councils and certain amounts of money, but at the same time, even though she has this idea, could she do it without Congress? Could she do executive orders on it? Because you know good and well, let's say she wins, she get in. The issue you're going to have is that Republican Senate. That's what you're going to have an issue with, trying to pass that. And then also you're going to have the Democrats, because some Democrats don't want us to have reparations like that as well. They don't, because you have to understand the Republicans and Democrats are two sides of the same coin. Seriously, the majority of Caucasian America don't want us to get reparations. That's proven. And you think all of them are Republicans? No. A lot of them are Democrats, because let's call it what it is. The wealth gap will close once that happens. It will close. And what's the point of having an advantage if you don't have a wealth gap? It's just that simple. But we have to stay the course. Brothers and sisters, stay the course. Like I said before, don't let no one shame you or put you down or fearmonger you. And even some of my brothers and sisters that's from abroad, don't let them try to beat you up and say, oh, you dividing. Look, it's not about a division, brother or sister. It's not. It's about a debt that's owed. And either you support that or, like I said, it's not something we should even be fighting about, because I'm not fighting about it. I'm just saying it's just business like anything else. Now leave me a comment, let us think about this situation with Marianne Williamson, and let me know in the comment section, are you thinking about, voting for her in the primary based upon what she's saying, or, what's your position on some other things that she is proposing?